Chapter 3 of the Red Fairy Book. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Darla Ely. The Red Fairy Book by Andrew Lang. Chapter 3 Soria Moria Castle. There was once upon a time a couple of folks who had a son called Halvor. Ever since he had been a little boy he had been unwilling to do any work, and had just sat raking about among the ashes. His parents sent him away to learn several things, but Halvor stayed nowhere, for when he had been gone 2 or 3 days he always ran away from his master, hurried off home, and sat down in the chimney corner to grub among the ashes again. One day, however, a sea captain came and asked Halvor if he hadn't a fancy to come with him and go to sea, and behold foreign lands, and Halvor had a fancy for that, so he was not long in getting ready. How long they sailed I have no idea, but after a long, long time there was a terrible storm, and when it was over and all had become calm again, they knew not where they were, for they had been driven away to a strange coast of which none of them had any knowledge. As there was no wind at all, they lay there becalmed, and Halvor asked the skipper to give him leave to go on shore to look about him, for he would much rather do that than lie there and sleep. "Dost thou think that thou art fit to go where people can see thee?" said the skipper. "Thou hast no clothes but those rags thou art going about in." Halvor still begged for leave, and at last got it, but he was to come back at once if the wind began to rise. So he went on shore, and it was a delightful country. Whithersoever he went there were wide plains with fields and meadows, but as for people, there were none to be seen. The wind began to rise, but Halvor thought that he had not seen enough yet, and that he would like to walk about a little longer, to try if he could not meet somebody. So after a while he came to a great highway, which was so smooth that an egg might have been rolled along it without breaking. Halvor followed this, and when evening drew near he saw a big castle far away in the distance, and there were lights in it. So as he had now been walking the whole day, and had not brought anything to eat away with him, he was frightfully hungry. Nevertheless, the nearer he came to the castle, the more afraid he was. A fire was burning in the castle, and Halvor went into the kitchen, which was more magnificent than any kitchen he had ever yet beheld. There were vessels of gold and silver, but not one human being was to be seen. When Halvor had stood there for some time, and no one had come out, he went in and opened a door, and inside a princess was sitting at her wheel spinning. "Nay," she cried, "can Christian folk dare to come hither? But the best thing that you can do is to go away again, for if not, the Troll will devour you. A Troll with 3 heads lives here." "I should have been just as well pleased if he had had 4 heads more, for I should have enjoyed seeing the fellow," said the youth, "and I won't go away, for I have done no harm. But you must give me something to eat, for I am frightfully hungry." When Halvor had eaten his fill, the princess told him to try if he could wield the sword which was hanging on the wall, but he could not wield it, nor could he even lift it up. "Well, then, you must take a drink out of that bottle which is hanging by its side, for that's what the Troll does whenever he goes out and wants to use the sword," said the princess. Halvor took a draught, and in a moment he was able to swing the sword about with perfect ease. And now he thought it was high time for the Troll to make his appearance, and at that very moment he came, panting for breath. Halvor got behind the door. "Hutetu," said the Troll as he put his head in at the door. "It smells just as if there were Christian man's blood here." "Yes, and you shall learn that there is," said Halvor, and cut off all his heads. The princess was so rejoiced to be free that she danced and sang, but then she remembered her sisters and said, "If my sisters were but free too." "Where are they?" asked Halvor. So she told him where they were, One of them had been taken away by a Troll to his castle, which was 6 miles off, and the other had been carried off to a castle which was 9 miles farther off still. "But now," said she, "you must first help me to get this dead body away from here." Halvor was so strong that he cleared everything away, and made all clean and tidy very quickly. So then they ate and drank, and were happy, and next morning he set off in the grey light of dawn. He gave himself no rest, but walked or ran the livelong day. When he came in sight of the castle he was again just a little afraid. It was much more splendid than the other, but here too there was not a human being to be seen. So Halvor went into the kitchen, and did not linger there either, but went straight in. "Nay, do Christian folk dare to come here?" cried the second Princess. "I know not how long it is since I myself came, but during all that time I have never seen a Christian man. It will be better for you to depart at once, for a Troll lives here who has 6 heads." "No, I shall not go," said Halvor. "Even if he had 6 more I would not." "He will swallow you up alive," said the Princess. But she spoke to no purpose, for Halvor would not go. He was not afraid of the Troll, but he wanted some meat and drink, for he was hungry after his journey. So she gave him as much as he would have, and then she once more tried to make him go away. "No," said Halvor, "I will not go, for I have not done anything wrong, and I have no reason to be afraid." "He won't ask any questions about that," said the Princess, "for he will take you without leave or right. But as you will not go, try if you can wield that sword which the Troll uses in battle." He could not brandish the sword, so the Princess said that he was to take a draught from the flask which hung by its side, and when he had done that he could wield the sword. Soon afterwards the Troll came, and he was so large and stout that he was forced to go sideways to get through the door. When the Troll got his first head in, he cried, "Hutetu! It smells of a Christian man's blood here." With that Halvor cut off the first head, and so on with all the rest. The Princess was now exceedingly delighted, but then she remembered her sisters, and wished that they too were free. Halvor thought that might be managed, and wanted to set off immediately, but first he had to help the Princess to remove the Troll's body, so it was not until morning that he set forth on his way. It was a long way to the castle, and he both walked and ran to get there in time. Late in the evening he caught sight of it, and it was very much more magnificent than either of the others, and this time he was not in the least afraid, but went into the kitchen, and then straight on inside the castle. There a Princess was sitting, who was so beautiful that there was never anyone to equal her. She too said what the others had said, that no Christian folk had ever been there since she had come, and entreated him to go away again, or else the Troll would swallow him up alive. The Troll had 9 heads, she told him. "Yes, and if he had 9 added to the 9, and then 9 more still, I would not go away," said Halvor, and went and stood by the stove. The Princess begged him very prettily to go, lest the Troll should devour him, but Halvor said, "Let him come when he will." So she gave him the Troll's sword, and bade him take a drink from the flask to enable him to wield it. At that same moment the Troll came, breathing hard, and he was ever so much bigger and stouter than either of the others, and he too was forced to go sideways to get in through the door. "Hutetu! What a smell of Christian blood there is here!" said he. Then Halvor cut off the first head, and after that the others, but the last was the toughest of them all, and it was the hardest work that Halvor had ever done to get it off, but he still believed that he would have strength enough to do it. And now all the princesses came to the castle, and were together again, and they were happier than they had ever been in their lives, and they were delighted with Halvor, and he with them, and he was to choose the one he liked best. But of the 3 sisters the youngest loved him best. But Halvor went about and was so strange and so mournful and quiet that the princesses asked what it was that he longed for, and if he did not like to be with